Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I am super excited to be able to show you some new 3D embossing folders from Spellbinders. Spellbinders has a lot of beautiful 2D embossing folders, but they've recently come out with some gorgeous 3D embossing folders. To allow these beautiful 3D folders to work in their Platinum machines, they have a new universal plate system, and that's what I'm going to show you first. So let me open this up. With this system, you can still die cut and emboss 2D folders and all your usual things that you do. But this also allows you to use their new 3D embossing folders. It comes with 6 different plates. Let me open up this cellophane baggie here and show you a close-up look at these. I have the Platinum 6 as well as a Platinum 8 machine, and it works for both of those. It also works with a Sizzix Big Shot machine if you have one of those, and many other machines as well. So this is the A platform base, and this shows you all of the instructions for how to build your different sandwiches. And then you get plate B, and this is the platform top. You get C, which is a cutting plate, and another C, which is another cutting plate. This one is D, an adapter plate, and that's the one you're going to use for your 3D embossing folders. And then you get E, which is an embossing mat, and then F is a shim. So I have 3 of the new 3D embossing folders. Let me show you the ones I have. This first one is a wood grain folder, and it's called Knock on Wood. It's a nice big size, so you can make up whatever size card you want with it. And these are a lot thicker than their 2D embossing folders. This one is called Beautiful Blooms, and it's just lovely. Let me pull out a piece of cardstock here on my desk. Maybe it'll help you to see it a little more clearly. I just have a piece of black cardstock here. There, you can see it a little better there. But I love those flowers. I don't know what kind they are. They kind of look like hydrangeas to me. Or maybe they're peonies. And then this third one I'm really excited about because it's called Corrugated. Spellbinders used to carry some corrugated cardstock in the shop, but they don't have that anymore. But they do have this fabulous corrugated 3D embossing folder. Oh, and here is the Knock on Wood with the black cardstock behind it, so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to be creating 3 cards using these beautiful 3D embossing folders. So as I said before, I'm going to start with A plate and D plate. And here is my Spellbinders 6 embossing die cutting machine. So I'll open this up. And then I'll put the base plate or the platform plate A down first. And then you're going to put your embossing folder next. Let's start with the corrugated first. And I'm going to pull out a piece of craft cardstock. Before you emboss it, you'll want to spray it lightly with a spray bottle on both sides. But I'm just using a baby wipe. That works too. I like to wipe the baby wipe on both sides. This will prevent any cracking. However, it is really dependent on some of the cardstocks as well. This one, for whatever reason, did not 3D emboss all that great. But next you put the D adapter plate on top of that and run it through the machine. Let me just situate this a little bit better. There we go. Sorry, it's at an odd angle for me to be running this through the machine, but I wanted to show you this on camera. And then here it is all embossed. And this one did kind of crack a little bit, but I did this several times with other cardstocks and it didn't crack. So for some reason, the embossing folder just did not like this piece of craft cardstock that I have. Here's the corrugated cardstock that they used to sell in the shop, and I love this stuff. Okay, so let's move on to the Beautiful Blooms. Again, I did wipe it down with a baby wipe on both sides. And I think this one is my favorite, but let me show you the results here. It is so stunning. Okay, let me hold it up close to the camera so you can see all of that detail. Isn't that lovely? And then let me flip it over so you can see the other side. And you can use whichever side you prefer. That's so pretty. Okay, now let's do the knock on wood, and I'm using some Dusty Rose cardstock. And again, wiping it down with the baby wipe. I probably would have sprayed it, but I didn't have my spray bottle handy, so I'm just using the baby wipe. So let's put the top plate on and run it through the machine again. And then here is the result. Here's the front side of it. Isn't that pretty? And then the flip side. So you could use either side, of course. Okay, let's get into the card making. So for card number 1, I'm using some Portobello cardstock in the Knock on Wood folder, and I cut it down to be a little bit smaller than my card base, which is going to be 5.5 by 4.25. To bring out the pattern just a little bit more, I'm using some vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink, and just gently rubbing it across the wood grain. When you cut down your cardstock before you 3D emboss it, you can kind of select the pattern or the place on the embossing folder where you want it to emboss. This is a piece of alabaster cardstock, and I'm going to attach this in the center of a piece of peridot green cardstock. I already have this attached to a white card base. Then I'm using more liquid glue, and I'll attach the Knock on Wood pattern kind of at the top corner of the alabaster cardstock. So I'm using my Be Bold Blooms dies again. I use this quite a lot if you've been watching my videos in the past. This is one of my favorite floral die sets from Spellbinders, and I'm going to create a little sprig of flowers with this. I'm using several different colors of cardstock, and then I'm even going to overlap one in the center. But I'm going to pop it up with a foam square. And then I can glue on the centers, and I'm just using more of the Portobello craft cardstock for this. The Hello die cut comes from the large die of the month from June. I thought it was just such a pretty Hello font, and it's such a nice large size. So I'm going to glue that up at the top. I did glue together 2 layers to make it more of a chipboard sticker. And then I can glue my little sprig down below the sentiment. I added a twine burlap bow on the end of it. And then I will add one more flower with a foam square behind it, just kind of at the top of the sprig there. And here it is all done. But isn't that wood grain just stunning? For card number 2, I'm using the corrugated. I used it with this Dusty Rose cardstock, and it didn't crack at all. It just went through the embossing machine perfectly. And I'll attach this to another piece of Portobello craft cardstock. It will have a little bit of a border around it. Again, I'm using the Be Bold Blooms die set. And this time I'm using the larger blooms. The centers, again, are going to be more of the Portobello cardstock. It's a very simple design, but the 3D embossed panel just takes it over the top. It just makes it look so elegant and like you've spent a lot of time on it. I'm going to pop up all 3 flowers with foam squares behind the centers as well as each petal. This will leave me a little bit of room to tuck the greenery behind them. So we'll attach the flowers, and then I'll add liquid glue to the leaves and put them behind the flowers. These are all different colors of teal from the Spellbinders Cardstock Essentials. The Hugs sentiment comes from the Mix and Match sentiments from Spellbinders. And I cut it out with some gold cardstock. And I'm gluing this down flat, kind of up at the top corner. I'll attach this to a top folding white card base using more liquid glue. And that's all there is to this card. Very fast and simple to put together. But I just love the result. Here's a close-up look at the finished card. You can see how much dimension that folder provides for your cards. For card number 3, unfortunately, I lost the video footage, so I'm just going to hold it up and explain how I did this, and it is super simple. It probably took 5 minutes. So I cut down my panel to 5.5 by 4.25 and placed it in the embossing folder where I wanted it to be. And then I used some Hero Arts white pigment ink and gently brushed it over the top of the panel using a foam blender brush. And then I'm using the Sending You sentiments and dies for the sentiment. I love this set. I use it a lot. This is one that stays out on my desk. And then I added a few purple gems. So if you wanted to make up a whole set of these using different colors, you could do that super fast. And I think this one is my favorite card. It's just so pretty. I'll have the links listed in the description box if you want to check them out. And thanks so much for spending some of your time with me today. Until next time, have a fun, crafty day. Bye!